Would you believe me if I told you that gardening has the ability to transform your life? Gardening has taught me so much about relationships and the work that goes into them for them to grow and be healthy and successful. Gardening can help you recognize your strengths and your weaknesses in maintaining those relationships. And I want to encourage every one of you to garden and use it as an opportunity to improve your relationships with the people in your life. My name is Annie, and I have been educating people about healthy relationships and how to take care of themselves for over a decade. And over the last 5 years, I have been gardening and educating people on the connection between the two. Gardening and healthy relationships go hand in hand. And if you can grow a garden, then you already have the skills to improve your personal relationships as well. The basic steps to starting a garden line up with the steps to forming healthy relationships. And those main components are going to be the foundation, the boundaries that you have, how you handle your problems, the flexibility that you have, the ability to identify signs of problems or signs of good things, your ability to reach out for help, and what to do in the event of a disaster. When you think about foundations in a gardening, that's going to come down to how the ground needs to be prepped, how it needs good soil, how it needs good sunlight. When you think about the foundations in a relationship, you're going to be talking about how it starts with honesty and trust and communication. As long as everyone is on the same page about what they are wanting from this relationship and they're willing to tell each other about their wants and needs, then the relationship is starting on a good foundation. Which brings us to boundaries. And boundaries are important for garden as well as your relationships. When you're gardening, you're going to learn about how boundaries are there to protect your plant from harm. Just like boundaries are for people to protect ourselves, right? So when you're thinking about gardening in plants, you're going to talk about how you might build a wall or a barrier on the ground or have netting or other boundaries to prevent the plant from being damaged by humans or by pests or bugs or other things that may come across your plants, right? Now, when I realized that boundaries were things that I needed to do to protect myself, I also learned that if people tried to cross them, I needed to create a stronger boundary for myself. It wasn't something that they had to do for me, it was something I needed to do for myself. If someone is going to break that down and I'm going to allow it, then I'm doing myself an injustice. So when I first started teaching gardening to a group of young people, their stories about how they related to the experiences the garden was having with the problems they faced in their personal life, that helped me realize how much gardening could help improve people's personal relationships. So I changed the way that I taught the class, and I opened it up to a specific group of lessons that group together the similarities between having a garden and having healthy relationships. And I was able to improve not only my relationships, but I saw the changes that it made in the lives of the people around me. They were all able to use those skills that they learned from my gardening classes to improve their personal lives. And I believe that anyone can garden, and anyone can work on their boundaries and work on how they handle problems in their life. So flexibility is a huge thing that you need to have when it comes to plants, because what works for one plant may not work for others. So you need to recognize that and understand that just like people, there are things that we do well and there are things that we struggle with. And if you are able to identify the signs that something is struggling or identify the signs that something is doing well, so that you can replicate those things or you can stop doing those things so that you prevent catastrophes from happening. If you're unsure about what's going on, you can reach out for help. Help means sometimes putting plants that complement each other when growing. So for plants, that could mean putting together peppers and tomatoes because they do well together, or putting together plants that will make sure that bugs stay off of another plant, things like that. And as people, it means asking your friends, asking your family for help, or reading a book, or reaching out for a doctor, or anything that it is that you need to improve upon yourself, right? Something that you need to make sure that things are being taken care of in your own life. Now, anyone can start a garden, and anyone can learn about gardening, and it's beneficial not just for you, but for your whole community. So I always suggest that people look for ways to start a garden in your own home or in your own community, and see if you already have a community garden and how can you contribute to that. Oftentimes there's a community garden that's been neglected. So if you don't have the space to do one where you live, you can start one up. You can always invite your friends and your families to be there, and then you can talk about why each phase of the garden is important and how it relates to your relationships with each other. Gardening together strengthens your communication and your relationships with your friends and your family, and you can share in the wealth that the garden provides while learning together. So gardening is going to improve your healthy relationships, and it's going to involve recognizing the strengths in your foundation and fixing problems before moving forward. If you don't fix the problems that you already have, how can you expect to be successful in the future? If you create good boundaries and you learn from your mistakes and you work together and you grow and improve, then your garden is going to be successful, and your communication and your relationships are going to be successful. And that's why gardening and healthy relationships go hand in hand. So start a garden with your friends and family. And if you're looking for assistance, look into taking classes. I'm working on offering classes to anyone who is interested in learning more about gardening and healthy relationships as a way to improve our society and communities. And I believe that you can improve your life through learning about gardening and improving your relationships with others as well.